Hey, good to have you back. Thanks for coming to check this out. I don't even really know where to start. Um, it's been a wacky week. It's been a wacky month. But of course, it's been wacky times throughout all this. I'm still sitting in these walls. I've been spending a lot more time outside of them, though, which is kind of nice. Venturing out and trying to find things that I can enjoy, which has really been good. I've been doing a lot of learning. Been taking some classes. And, while it seems mundane to me on the surface, I've noticed that the subjects are they are teaching me a lot. And I'm not totally sure if that was the point behind them. I mean, the real point behind them was that I wanted to finish up school. I want to get a degree. But I've been able to find some interesting things about myself because of it. I've been able to see the fault in how I used to do things and start to understand ways to change those things, try and make them feel better. Not really sure where to start this, though. This is a tough one. And by the time this comes out, time will have passed. And so I'll probably feel different then, too. But I've been looking a lot at the brain. Been studying how the brain works, how things fire off, synapses, neurotransmitters. It's interesting. It's interesting the influence that things around the synapses and neurotransmitters and all the chemicals that go on inside our brains react differently for different people. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around. But I see it every day. And every once in a while I get a real hearty shake and a reminder that we're all just a little bit different. It's been tough. These walls aren't the only things that are restricting me, you know? There's so much out there that feels like it's caving in. I can see the end of roads when mine seems to stretch on forever. That doesn't feel right to make that observation at all. But it's really hard to see anything but myself in my own personal travels. And it's real easy to see when others' personal travels come to an end. But to look from outside in, to go deeper, it's even tougher. I went to my doctor's appointment, the first one I've had in a long time, and I was deemed pretty healthy for my age. I have good habits. And somewhere inside that imposter syndrome came out. Said, this is pretty sus. You didn't tell him everything. You weren't completely honest. You forgot to say a few things. There's things going on with your body that probably aren't going to be okay later on. But the thing that I have to keep reminding myself is that there's plenty of things that aren't going wrong in my body either. But that's a lot harder to remind yourself of. Those kinds of things are easier to forget because they're just happening. I read a story about a guy from the 1800s. Of course, I love old stuff. He was working in a mine or some sort of rock blasting. Maybe they were making way for a railway or something. And depending on the story, a lot of different things happened, but the result was all the same, as he blew a metal rod through his skull. Somewhere in this region, came out somewhere in that region. The interesting part was that he survived. And he survived for a while. Depending on the different ways that you look at it, the different routes and researches that were done, all post-mortem for this person, things didn't go great, but then they seemed to get better. The comments that he made immediately following the accident were kind of dismissive, but something about him changed. But over the course of the years following the accident, he seemed to find some solace. He seemed to find a normalcy. Even the gaping hole in his skull that existed till the day he died only affected him so much. At some point, he moved to South America and seemed to become fairly successful. The regiments of the day seemed to create some semblance of normalcy. But eventually, things started to decline. Went home to his family. Started working less and less, and after overexerting himself one day, died. I guess the hardest part about it is he was 36 years old. I'm almost there. I'm right around the age of Phineas Gage. It's weird to think that little things in your life, or in this case, really big ones, change things so drastically. I don't know what it was about the end of last year, but it really made me want to make some changes. Something stirred inside me that made me want to do different things. It made me look at the world a different way. It made me want to finish things that were incomplete and start some things that I had wanted to and never did. And in the face of all that, the world tried to stop that. Restrict it, at least. Something about the nature around me felt like it wasn't going to go anywhere. And over the summer, I got to think about it. I got to really process through all those feelings and decide where I was going to go with my new normal. And I just kept going. Signed up for classes again. Continued pursuing the things that I had been pursuing at the end of last year. It's really odd to think about that so many things have changed over the course of 8, 9, 10, 12, 16 months. All these different things lead me to who I am now. Kind of where I want to be. I'm not mad about my position. I'm not mad about these walls. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated I can't get out there. I'm frustrated that when I do get out there, it's not to all the places I want to go. I'm frustrated that I can't go see all the people I want to go see. Pandemic or not. There is something inside me that restricts me. My path is different than it used to be. The pursuits that I wanted to do 2, 3, 4 days ago might not be exactly the same as they are now. It's like the story of Phineas Gage, the guy who shot a rod through his skull. Over the course of 100 years, the story molded itself, it changed. And a lot of times, it was the interpretation of the person doing the research their preconceived notions that made the conclusions what they are. Mr. Gage never left a journal. Few pictures have been found. But the images that come up when you read the early stories are very different than the ones that we have today. I don't know, at the end of February, I was sitting behind a soundboard in a room full of people. We were all on that stage for seemingly the same reason. But here we are, 6, 7 months out, and those reasons are different. Even looking back on the reasons back then, all the reasons were different. We weren't there for the same purposes. We weren't all there to express the same way. It just looked like that from the outside. So was I just sitting outside the whole time? Maybe I was so far in that when I was looking out, I was seeing the wrong side. I was seeing the inverse of the things that I'm observing now. So they look different. The silhouettes have changed. The light has moved. Or I did. It's a lot to contemplate inside that. But I see a lot of things going on in the world. So there's a lot of contemplation to be had. I haven't really found a great way to express myself other than this. And it still doesn't feel complete. I write songs. I sing out loud. I skate. I like to swim. Play a lot of games. But the expression that I'm really looking for is somewhere in a mix of all those things. It's this amalgamation of these pieces of my life that really make it worth anything at all. I've talked about loss in the past, and I'm sure I'll talk about it again in the future. It's hard losing, whether it be a person or a game, or both. Making those judgment calls of how to feel just don't seem fair. But life is the kind of thing that doesn't really seem fair in the moment ever. It's tough. It's tough trying to come up with words that feel like they're going to do any sort of justice. And of course, I feel I need to tiptoe around all the BS and try to make it poignant and generalized enough that anybody can hear or listen, make sense of it. I'll try my best. Finding things that make you feel like you can be the hardest journey that anybody ever pursues. Finding people to enjoy that kind of thing with you is even harder. I don't blame anyone for finding themselves stumbling. And I'll never blame anyone for feeling that need to give up. But the pursuit of you is forever. Even after you're gone. Even if nobody remembers your name. You were still here. You still made an impact on the world around you. No matter how insignificant it feels. You're made of star stuff, and to star stuff you can return. But in between, you burn brightly. Utilize that fuel inside you for the things that make you feel like you, no matter what anybody else says. Because hopefully, they're just trying to burn brightly themselves. I really don't understand how journeys can change so drastically, or how my observation of somebody else's journey can be so different than what the reality might be. That's something I'm still trying to learn. And I don't think it's going to be deep in these textbooks or quizzes about the mitochondria. What I do know is that understanding people means being with people. Just sitting in a room, 4 walls around you, listening to the sounds outside, isn't going to get me any closer to any of you. But my ears are always open. I'm always willing to listen. I guess I just have to figure out a way to get myself closer to the people who are speaking. Figure out how to get a microphone in their hand or something. But maybe that's not the solution either. Maybe the solution goes deeper than that. Maybe it is somewhere inside those synapses and neurotransmitters and the way that the salty goop holding up a fatty mass inside my skull really works. Because even if you lose a big chunk of it, even if a steel rod shoots up through the bottom of your skull, there's still a you in there. There's parts of that fatty, fleshy mass that can rebuild themselves. I don't know how long it's been since I've really thought about myself on a deep level. I think it's become so circumstantial to my everyday existence that it's just almost constantly happening. I'm forever thinking about the things going on inside my body, trying to figure out what's wrong. Might be time to concentrate on what's right. Might have a better effect on the world around me. Thanks for listening in. I was obviously impacted by a lot of stuff this week, but one of the biggest ones is the loss of a friend. And it almost feels futile, but if you need help, it's okay to go get help. There's lots of hotlines out there, and my ears are as open as I can get them with my little tiny eustachian tubes. I'm going to try my best to say things when I need them, and I hope you can get the confidence to do that too. Thanks for hanging out. My name is Supe.
Sky over the Atlantic.